Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Coded Couture. What a pleasure having such an audience of professionals. We share the common passion for the jewelry world, for its artistic values. And today, for me, the storyteller, it's a pleasure to share a bit, an angle, several angles of my past career at Bulgari in the past 40 years almost, as a sort of a storyteller. So I would like to share with you the passion for the, let's say, ambassadors of the jewelry world, the high jewel. The high jewels are those magnificent masterpieces blending super gems, of course, rare treasure of the nature, and the artistic values of the brands, so the creativity, the artisanality, the history, the brands who will blend them in harmony. So those jewels are also nowadays, but not merely nowadays, I would say since the beginning of the modern times, those are considered as assets because due to their intrinsic value, in a very small portion, you can put in your pocket in case of a war, in case of a revolution, in case of merely bad times, you can put in your pocket a huge fortune. You can imagine a pink diamond, a fancy pink diamond ring worth for millions. You travel to escape a bad moment in another area of the world, but being those assets globally valued, you can sell, you can exchange those super precious small things to start a new life. So if you think about high jewelry also as an asset, think about the intrinsic value. Each single part of those jewels are precious. The gemstones, the famous super gems, the metal, so gold, platinum, and the craftsmanship, so more artistic kind of value, and the brand signature, of course, the creativity. So the power of these super gems moved throughout the century from being a symbol of emotions, reds, passion, blue, philosophy and mindset, green, the new life. So moving from those kind of symbologism into certified rare treasure of nature. So nowadays, fancy color diamonds, Burmese rubies, Colombian emeralds, Kashmir sapphires, but also Burmese or Tanzanian spinels, Paraíba tourmalines. I mean, there is a list of those named super gems with that with their intrinsic value can ennoble the artistic value of a masterpiece. So art and treasure of nature can make the fortune of plenty of brands. Nowadays, since a decade almost, brands who used to be more, let's say, classical, such as Winston or even Cartier, slightly moved into more, let's say, eccentric or creative area, focusing more and more on the world of color gems. So we are back to the past times where diamonds were not that popular. This is more or less what is going on in the market nowadays. Also here around I've seen a lot of colors ennobling the jewels on top of the diamonds. So To communicate the DNA, the brands, they use high jewelry. So the brand ambassadors are the masterpieces, those millionaire jewels that, of course, have the purpose to tell a story. So on top of the storytellers, there are the jewels that have to talk to the heart of the new collectors, showing the iconicity of that very line. So the aspirational jewels, the masterpieces, to communicate, to share, of course, the collections, to train the collection, to guide and carry the collection on stage. I would say that after the COVID time, you know, we are living a post-COVID era, and we have to redefine the luxury. Now, luxury is slightly different than before. The modern luxury is all about time, how we can use our time, the well-being, emotion are much more important nowadays than before. And meaningful, memorable experiences are another super important thing. We expect much better from for our lives, right? And having said that, of course, this is facing also the art of purchasing, art of buying, from switching from buying to collecting. Now, people approach the purchasing moment with a much higher and stronger discerning taste. So for a storyteller, to the new collectors, is no longer a matter of talking about the technicality, talking about certificates for gems, but is how that very jewel can ennoble the life of that very collector. And the new collectors are quite passionate. They are kind of globetrotters. They travel the world. They know the world very well. So we have to engage them, no matter if they are shifting from the old world, so from Europe or Americas, so the, let's say, Western world, into the Asian world. More and more, the new Generation Z are Asians, mainly Chinese. So these new collectors, they want to collect and purchase iconic jewels. So jewels where the artisanality and the intrinsic value are iconic, are visible. So, as Mr. Nicola Bulgari used to say to Lucia, Silvestri, and myself, was, guys, the value of heritage is enormous. We have to be very respectful toward the past times, but with an eye wide and open toward the future, like our Roman god Janus, represented by two-faced gods, an elder bearded man looking into the past, so the roots, and a young guy with the eyes open into the future, so the innovation. And this is what a lot of big brands are doing now through foundations, through books, through retrospectives, so from Cartier to Van Cleef, Bulgari, down to definitely Tiffany. Those retrospectives, those books have the purpose to share the DNA of that very brand. The history is important. The newcomers, the new collectors, they expect this. They want to, you guys, giving them the reason why to collect your jewels instead of another one. So, having said that, we need a brand ambassador. So each brand need to have someone who can share those values. So this is the Grand Vendeur, is the first face those collectors have in front of them, convincing and guiding them to collect this or that jewel. So it's very much emotional. It's a way to create an experience. So I've been asking to several grand vendors, what is your art? What made you becoming a grand vendor? And the best answer I got was years ago in Gstaad. Alarico Palmieri, a huge, wonderful grand vendor at Bulgari. We were in Gstaad. He wore a four with a glass of champagne at 10 a.m. And he answered me, darling, it's simple, like that. It's a person who knows how to navigate the world, a host who knows how to entertain, to charm, to care and amuse his guest. So I think it's a splendid sentence to end this presentation. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and enjoy what is going on.
Buongiorno. Good morning. And welcome. Good morning. I couldn't start in a different way because the body is the platform. And it's because jewelry are the interface between past, present, and future. And today, I'm particularly proud, and I was very proud to start with GIAMPAOLO della CROCE, really giving an overview of what's happening in the world and also in high jewelry, not just as ornament, but as business and also as an investment. This morning I'll take you through a wonderful journey with amazing speakers that will enable me and also I hope to inspire you into a wonderful journey of understanding what's happening today into the concept of recoding. What are we recoding? We will be focusing on the past meaning archive, which is not memories, but data to upload and recode into new concept. We are going to really go through the process and experimenting. We introduced in September the concept of quantum practices. We entered AI era, which for us it stands for augmented imagination, which is not replacing humanity, but is actually creating what we call the superhuman. What is the superhuman? It's using emotion, art, vision, past history, and take it to the next level. So cultural memory, craft carries memory, so objects are not just an object, but they have memory embedded, history. Somehow they are like capsules, energy capsules that they travel through time. There is a very interesting, actually just came to me that in Abu Dhabi there is a wonderful installation at the Louvre Museum about the traveling of time and objects that they carry energy. And the cultural memory is always associated to this. So even vintage and ancient old pieces or antique pieces or whatever, not only they are one of a kind nowadays and limited, but they become almost prototype to upload into any digital platform, AI platform, and be reimagined completely. Because sometimes the algorithm may dilute what we are doing. So that's why now the archive becomes a data, not just silhouettes, but emotional. So jewelry, as Giampaolo anticipated, are living archive, a bridge of memory. The return of origins, it's also based on, understanding our roots, our local identities, because the world right now is facing, geopolitical turmoil, and also in a way, it became very small. So understanding and appreciating our heritage, and now we're going to hear the concept of heritage this morning very often, and we're going to see the world also from the eyes of master jewelers, and they work with the movie, with the cinemas, or they are working inspired by the Renaissance, for instance, from Rome or elsewhere. We are going to speak with someone that comes from the fashion world. So we are really kind of suggesting from many years at this point, what we call cultural osmosis, which is not only about cultures, but also sectors. That's the only way to push the boundaries and to innovate, going to the next level. It's very important to talk about, yes, we are into the machine age, but the human, we are superhuman only when we do this. When the body becomes a platform of it's no longer about being ornamentation and adornment, but it's about an extension of who we are. We are our own brand. We are the brand and the storytelling of our soul. So jewelry now, more than ever, they have to be showed and proposed and narrated as in cultural platform. It's not just about product. It's not just about gold and weight and ounces. It's not just only about heritage, but it's about how we are narrating. Consumer and collectors, they want to be inspired. They are not just buying an object. They are buying the world around. They are buying the community. They don't even want to buy anymore. They want to be associated. So the whole concept, this is something that we have to do. Push it to the next level. And this extraordinary time in history, which might be a little scary, it is, but is a parallelism between the previous century and today. And if we are looking at what happened in the previous century, this is the time where everything happens, where we are triggering, where there is something, magic that will happen, even though through some struggle, and there is. But in order to go forward, we need to break some barriers. Celebrating craftsmanship. Product is very important. Handmade product, prototypes are not substituted by anything, but we are reviewing the creative process, and the creative process is uploaded, mixed, blended with technology, becomes and being completely reinvented in unexpected ways. That's where Goldsmith artists, engineers, even embroiderers are working with these parallel dimensions of what we call quantum practices, from analogic to digital, handmade to AI. And this is something, that's where the magic happens. So Couture is about celebrating craftsmanship, and technology is not replacing humanity. At the contrary, is elevating emotions. So augmented craft not only enables us to redesign and reset the creative process, not only as product, but rethink the way we narrate, as we can see. Bejeweled every day, and designer merge artisanal legacy also with urban rhythm, which are changing, shifting, merging with different cultures, and fluidity doesn't stand just for gender, but also age, even culture, religions, whatever. So this is what really is the wealth of contemporary time. So jewelry are an interface of past, present, and future. They become not only the asset in terms of investment, but culture. But really, what we will discover later with a wonderful couple that we will be introducing later, It's about we are not passing to the new generation only objects, but values, vision, something that it may disappear, but our responsibility, it is to pass on the witness, really the testimony of history and what's happening. So it's about really decoding time, recoding it in AI, because 50 years from now, 100 years from now, we want this to remain and take it to the next level. So we are not forgetting, at the contrary, we are passing over. So circularity, it is in material and product, but also into informations and culture. Material consciousness, of course, it is important. It is something that we are now also exploring more and more, and through innovation and technology, new material will be hybridized with precious and non-precious at the same time. The future, of course, is coded into humanity, and jewelry are part of that. I thank you very much, and now I'd like very much my wonderful Thank you. Thank you.
Brava, brava, brava,
Thank you.
brava.
I'd like very much today, I asked Mr. Giampaolo della CROCE, Giampaolo, grazie, sorry.
Always super interesting to appreciate the study this lady and her team is doing to analyze, but also to share, to better understand the future.
Grazie. Grazie.
Well done.
Grazie. So I wanted to be on board with me, because now we are going to introduce someone. Now our journey begins.
Yes.
And of course, I'd like very much to introduce our second chapter, which is Fashion, Costume, and Archive. And I'd like to introduce Stefano CHIASSAI, who entered the world of fashion at a very young age after studying art in Florence. In the 80s, he started being involved in fashion, and his career spans from fashion show to exhibition to collaboration with very high-level fashion brands. From 88 to 2000, he taught menswear fashion at the Polimoda in Florence, and since 2009, he was appointed by Fendi as menswear designer, and since then, actually, he started also what is called the CUBE Archive, a unique creative laboratory of over 20,000 garment, objects, painting, tapestry, and material which is sourced worldwide. He says that this is a place of ideas, memories, and cross-pollination where fashion, art, music, and research meets. Stefano CHIASSAI. We made it. Ce l'abbiamo fatta.
Grazie
We switch in Italian in Toscano, which is very important. I think is more even like very well defined. Allora, mio caro Stefano.
Intanto, buongiorno a tutti. Grazie.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for being so patient now to listen to me for the next 15 minutes. We're all fascinated by you. Of course, it's not a matter of patience. Well, I really do hope that my story is going to be of interest for you. A visionary creative path. Well, let's start with your visionary creative path. From the runway to mentorship, to cultural mentorship. I mean, you have worked in the world of fashion and you also teach in the world of fashion. Tell us about it. Well, I was lucky enough in the 60s and 70s to be born in a family where my mom had a company producing garments, clothing. And of course, I actually came in contact with the first designers of the 70s who used to work for my mom. And I was really fascinated by what they were doing together. Curiosity is, in general, the sparkle that generates ideas, that makes you do something. So I love to look at them. At that time, there was no technology. So the designer had a look at the different textiles. My mom had models for shirts, pants, jackets, and the designer just said, make it longer, shorter, narrower, larger, put a pleat there. And that's how the new models were born. And it took 1 week to make a whole line. Today, it takes us months. Everything was faster at that time. It was easier, less complicated. And of course, I can still see my mom, who together with a designer from Milan were working together. And this is something that I've brought with me in my artistic world. But I was also lucky to have a brother who was passionate about fashion and who opened 2 shops, 2 stores. And that's the following phase. I used to go with him to select the items. So from making a product to selling a product. And that's when you started drawing, is that right? Designing. Yeah, my first true consultancy took place in 1978, and this was totally involuntarily. I mean, this is how I work. I do something without having a precise objective. I just do that. And my dad used to tell me, just do it. If you do something, something will happen. If you don't do anything, nothing will happen. So that's my philosophy still today. So also today, this is my approach to things. I do not expect anything from what I do, but hopefully something will happen. So in 1978, I just gave an idea to an entrepreneur who used to produce pants, trousers. And he actually did what I had suggested to do. I didn't know about that. He sold a lot of products, and 1 year later, he came back to me and gave me an envelope containing 800,000 lira. I was 20 years old in 1978, and I bought a little scooter. And I understood that I could actually work in that field. Why not? So with the little money I had, I started buying textiles, and I made my own sample collection, my own swatch. And then what did you do? Well, I started traveling the world. It was not easy at that time. I was telling Giampaolo before, my first journey was by car. I went to Paris because an airplane ticket was 2.5 million lira, which was too much for a 22-year-old. So together with a friend, we left by car. And we went to the first flea markets. So I used to go to Paris with 1 suitcase and come back with 3 or 4 suitcases, and that was my life for a while. What did those suitcases contain? Well, whenever I saw something that I liked, be it old or new, I bought it. Because I knew that that was the base. So what I found was my inspiration to create my own line. So I created my own line, which was extremely successful. And in 1986, together with Dick Bickenberg and Twins van Noten, they asked me to present my items to a very important fashion show. And I understood that research can actually lead to everything. Whatever you do, clothing, accessories, research work is paramount. In other words, the tradition was your cultural engine. Exactly. Tradition, heritage, or legacy is the cultural engine. And knowledge, understanding what has been done, what is on the market, helps you move forward. So you found your own way to develop something new. I mean, I did not buy items to copy them, but to understand and to do one step forward compared to what is already there. So that was my modus operandi, and it still is. This is how I work. So at a given point, instead of buying a villa at the seaside, I actually invested in a lot of items, an archive, in other words, and I realized that all what I was putting together was something beautiful. Garments that I had bought, and when I use the term garment, I actually have to say also accessories, jewelry, knickknacks, all what fascinated me, I brought home. I have about 23,000 items today, garments, jewelry, glasses, hats, and so on and so forth. And that's why you did the Cube archive. Yes, in 2015, together with my daughter, Corinne, and my son-in-law, Marius Boldi from Holland, we decided to give life to my archive. For many, many years, this has been my own personal library and the library of my office and my team, consisting of 15 people. Whenever we designed a new collection, we all went to the archive. Each person selected those items that would allow us to talk to each other, say, look, Stefano, I like this because of that detail, and so on and so forth. And that's how we developed our collections. At a given point, I thought, okay, we use this archive, but I would like this archive to become a living environment. I would like to show it to everybody. And this is how we put together our first book, called Caos Ordinato, Ordering Chaos. And in this book, through different outfits, we explain how vintage items can give you a modern look. So a pair of trousers at the beginning of the previous century, a jacket of the Second World War, a shirt of the 70s, a tie of the 2000s. And these mix and match outfits actually caused a lot of turmoil in our industry. Of course, it is an industry for people working in this field. It was greatly appreciated, and the archive was actually viewed as something that provides you with an experience. It is a moment when you can look, think, be stimulated, where you can generate something that will allow you to make one step forward. All this is described in our book. Well, you're telling us something very, very important. You told us about an archive, which is the inspiration for new collections, and then you talked about the different looks that you put together. Yesterday, we were talking about styling. 2 years ago, Trendvision used the term super styling, because styling, which means mixing items of different periods, has actually disrupted the world of fashion, but also the world of jewelry, because consumers, the Z generation, millennium, young people, they no longer use the complete sets of the past, but they just choose items and they style them as they like. So jewelry collections have become deconstructed. They've changed their architecture. They are no longer sold as sets, but they're mixed together. So the style has changed a bit because the scenario has changed, as you have just described. So there has been a resetting, and we have started from scratch. So I would really like our industry to understand that this is already happening, not only in fashion, but also in jewelry. Well, right now, mixing, cross-pollinating, putting together items that apparently are conflicting, for me, this was a new way to present something. Yesterday, as we were talking, I told you that in the 70s, wearing brown with blue was something horrible, completely out of fashion. But from the 80s onwards, I mean, today, you can combine brown with blue. In the 70s, nobody wore black. Men only loved brown and blue. Brown is a difficult color. Today, in the 70s, it was very fashionable. It is not so fashionable today. But the concept of the archive allows you to put together items that until that moment had never been put together. Also working on what may look ugly, because today there are no borders between what is beautiful and what is ugly. We do not know where the border is. And that's a place for cross-fertilization. Courage, which I like to call something that comes from your heart, because that's where your courage comes from, allows you to make something that nobody's done before. Sorry, we have to speed up a little bit for time reasons. Let's talk about your teaching, because your archive has become a place where people can learn, both for students and for designers. And this is not all. Here we can see a beautiful family. I have anticipated, and we will talk about this with two special guests, I have anticipated the generation point. I mean, this is something that is important in families, but also in society. Exactly, because our archive are attended, visited by designers from all over the world, schools from all over the world, from Los Angeles, Austria, Germany, France. Teachers come and lecture their pupils in our archive, because fashion schools have finally understood that fashion students cannot spend the whole day in front of their computer. They need to touch textiles, garments. They need to understand how garments are made. They need to feel textiles. So fashion as a narrative. Yes, fashion as a narrative. And of course, technology is of help. Well, tell us about this garment, because you told me that it could not have been possible without technology. It is true, there are machines today that allow us to obtain something like this, with the use of different color threads and technology. You can create products that can be named as new. Well, yesterday you told me that drawing means giving shape to my ideas. That's not creativity. When I draw, I am actually putting my idea on paper. Yes, this is what I always tell to pupils, because schools tend to say that drawing is very important. I just say that it is a way to give shape to your idea, but the idea is born out of research work. Research is fundamental. Nobody teaches how you should research. I've learned it on my own, thanks to my curiosity, because curiosity is the first step. If you're not curious, you don't go looking for something. You just do what you can do in a very didactic way. But curiosity helps you understand how you can research. When I go to schools, I always try to tell young people that they must learn to research. They have to go around, they have to look, they have to scout about, because research takes place every moment, every instant. I'm always working. Wherever I am, on holiday, together with my friends, I always find something that I can take home, because it can be useful for my work. Before concluding, I would like you to talk to us about this sentence, get to know the past to envision the future. So tell me about your exhibition in Pietrasanta. This is extraordinary. I've visited it. Through your creative body, you tell us about your creative journey, starting from craftsmanship in fashion, to research, to drawing during the pandemics, your tapestry. Please tell us about this. Yeah, this is what I was telling you before. I just do things. I mean, I have attended the Art Institute, so for me, drawing and painting, this is something that I've been doing ever since I was a young boy. Fashion and art were two parallel ways for me. Then I actually moved towards fashion. I don't know why, there's no reason, but that's what happened. But I've always had heart inside myself. I've continued drawing, and during the pandemic, I was stuck at home. And then, of course, when you are at home, you start doing what you cannot do when you're working. So I drew, and with my drawings, I actually told what was happening, the pandemic. I published this in the social media, and I created a tribe that was following me and asked for these drawings. So it is my usual concept. I just did it, and it became a diary, it became an exhibition, and I have always brought art into fashion. I've always tried to bring a little bit of culture in fashion, and today we really do need that, given the present situation. But I've also brought fashion into art, so cross-fertilization, until they started inviting me to organize exhibitions, one in Milan, and now we have the Pietrasanta exhibition with the title Enchantment, Incantamento, because when you look at one of my works, you are actually enchanted, because that work of art contains so much, there's so much to read and to see that you are hypnotized. Yes, it's psychedelic. And in this world of art, I try to tell daily life. I try to give shape to memory, because, you know, after 3 or 4 days, we forget about all the news that we listen to. For 3 or 4 days, you hear everything about something and then nothing anymore. But I try to crystallize time. I try to crystallize time because I believe that memory is another important element in our life. It is terrible to know that 1 year ago in Los Angeles, there was the biggest fire in the world, and nobody remembers that today. So this is what I'm doing. I try to tell about our daily life, and as I do that, I include all what is important for me. Words. Words are losing their strength. People talk, but they don't listen. But they talk. They talk one way and they act another. So words mean nothing, because you may say this and that and then you do the contrary. So I am trying to pronounce words that are then confirmed by acts. Kindness, respect, love, hope, dream, because dreams become true. My dreams came true. The exhibition in Pietrasanta, I mean, I used to go to Pietrasanta in 92, 93, and I saw the first exhibitions there, and I thought, oh, that would be a wonderful place to make an exhibition. 20 years later, I managed to have my own exhibition in Sant'Agostino in Pietrasanta. So you need consistency, of course. You have to go on improving. Nothing happens overnight. You need consistency, tenacity, determination, and you must also believe in what you're doing. Thank you. Thank you very much. That was a fantastic contribution, and I wish you all the best. And I'm inviting you all to go and visit this wonderful visit. Thank you.
Adesso tocca a te.
And now,
Now it's your turn.
a city which has been the cradle of the Mediterranean civilization, more or less, a city that, with its 2,700 years, inspired a lot of artists during the Renaissance and then the Baroque era, and in the modern era, inspired a gentleman, a maestro, who with his mani intelligenti, mindset, heart, and hands, started studying the layers of those 2,700 years, and to inject into his passion for jewelry those kind of seeds to create something new. A gentleman who is now, who was the founder of a big atelier, a splendid atelier. While traveling to Rome, please give a visit. It's in the heart of Rome, near to the Pantheon. And now, this is the second generation, thanks to the son and the daughter. And they had the attitude, therefore, he has, and the family had, the attitude to place together antiquity, so history, value, historical value, but blending them with innovative things to re-emerge, to link with the world of cinema, for instance, Rome as the Hollywood on Tiber, and therefore finding the click, as they will tell us now, between the history and the art of linking something with the jewelry, and a new form of art, which is the cinema. So I invite to the stage Diego and Valeria Percossi Papi.
Good morning. Good morning. Ciao Valeria. Ciao cara. Eccoci.
Buonasera. Questo vuole essere...
Good morning. This is a conversation of shifting our knowledge. So we're really focusing on heritage. The best word in Italian for heritage is retaggio. So what is it? What is heritage? It's the transmission of unconscious and conscious experience and skills, but most of all, emotions through which our experience, our heritage has first and foremost an emotional taste rather than technical. It's an amount of experiences made available to anybody who would like to use them as a starting springboard for his growth. Roma, is our city, as Giampaolo just said. This is the place where everything started. It taught us that tradition is not a restraint, but an endless source of inspiration. History is not static, but can still be interpreted, translated, and represented through a language, which is the technique of cloisonné, the one we use. All our jewels stand for this dialogue between past, present, history, and future. Memory as a code. Living in the historical center of Rome, it was only natural for us to absorb the architectonic, cultural, values. And let me stress the word architecture, because there is a very close link between architecture and the world of jewels. Ancient Rome, but the Rome of my daily life, the Baroque Rome of Jacopo della Quercia, of Carracci, Alessandro VII, Bernini, Borromini, Rome of Caravaggio. This is the kind of Rome I'm thinking, a place of beauty where colors, shapes, lights, they all blend in strong emotions, harmonies, and oppositions. Sure, this is what we were taught since we were really young. Memory is a code, is nothing nostalgic. It's a code to be decoded and deciphered. And our city has taught us just this, to decipher these codes, to translate them into volumes, jewels, forms, and colors. Without memory, there is no identity, right? Yes, and crafts is about culture. So my journey was long, and I was self-taught, from simplicity to a challenging expression that is looking for a specific identity. Craftsmanship is knowledge over time. My brother, Giuliano, who is present here in this room, we have learned the cloisonné technique, just like when you learn a language, ancient language. We also, had classical studies at school. So at the beginning, you don't understand. Then you start understanding, and you use it to describe all of the world that is ahead of you. The craft's gesture contains history, technique, sensitivity, which is exactly where our identity was created and born. Identity, this is key. This is the symbolism of shape and forms. Identity is at the core of research. We bring together the Mediterranean culture in the 1,000-year and millennial history of the Mare Nostrum, hence the attention to symbols, to myths, and history. I recommend strongly to read 3 fundamental books. The first is the Vitruvius de Architettura. The second one is the Libro dell'Arte by Nino Cennini. And the third is the Metamorphoses by Ovidio. Rome, well, managed to bring together all these multiculturalism in one single identity, which is the matrix and the origin of one single unique phenomena around the world, the Italian Renaissance. Well, talking about the symbol has always been conjuring up something deep in human minds. We identify ourselves through a symbol, which establishes a relationship between what is visible and invisible, the conscious and unconscious world. The symbols we use are mythic, Byzantine, Renaissance, and they always have a historical reference. They are true codes, and in our jewels, they turn into volumes of surfaces, stones, gems, and forms. Each jewel is a small memory architecture, not just to decorate, but to represent and replicate a whole civilization. Item 5, these are the Mediterranean icons. Color is the key actor of our work, whether it's contrast like gold, light shades. Think of a Mediterranean city, El Cairo, Constantinople, Naples, Athens, cities where a multi-colorful crowd moves around between volumes, sounds, and smells, all different but conflicting, that blend eventually in what I call a harmonious chaos. It may sound like a paradox, but that is so. Well, talking about the Mediterranean icons, the Mediterranean Sea is highly heterogeneous. It's got many peoples. It represents the joy, the cheer of color. The Mediterranean equals a color. What is color about? It's the source of emotion. Whenever you look at an object, before perceiving its shape, we perceive its color. Our jewels are highly colorful. We have metal, which is invariably yellow. With the Mediterranean, its color, the red of corals, the blue of turquoise, simple gems collected on the Aegean Sea that although they're not precious, they set up a memory and they become thus precious. And we use them to construct objects. Materials, in this sense, become a very sensitive memory. They conjure up our identity, our cultural identity, what we love, what we wear, which represents us and expresses our reference value.
Today, however, identity is nothing static. It is ever evolving. In this new world, new generations embody this change. It's a globalized world. Digital languages create a global community. Identities have a dialogue with each other. And on this scenario, it is very important to preserve our own cultural identity, to see the world in depth and not superficially. Heritage is not a constraint or a limit. It is a deep insight that allows us to move towards a future with full awareness. Sartorial jewelry. How is a piece of jewelry born? You can learn every technique, but the method is paramount. To summarize this process, I would like to tell you a short story. In the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve take a walk. Eve suddenly stops because of the wonderful color of a flower. She thinks about it, picks up the flower, takes some grass and uses it to put the flower on her front, on her forehead, and asks Adam, "Do you like it?" In this short story, we have the three values of jewelry. The emotion. Eva is fascinated by the color of the flower. So reality moves from the object to the subject. She thinks about it. What shall I do with this flower? I'm going to make it into an adornment. How? Well, she takes some grass and uses it to put the flower, tie the flower on her forehead. And then she looks at Adam and asks, "Do you like it?" That's a symbol. That's the third value. The symbol telling Adam, this is myself. This is the symbol. So this adornment is something unique. It is like a knot in the handkerchief of our memory. Our approach is the approach of intimacy with materials and with customers. We listen to the customers because every person has his or her own story, emotions, feelings, and we try to interpret this and transform this in a piece of jewelry that will preserve the personal memory of our client and will also contain the civilization, the history, and the heritage we're talking about. From Rome to the world, the Italic and Roman cultural matrix becomes a key to read different realities where respect for one's own identity and other people's identity is fundamental. Internationalization was our natural extension and expansion. Bringing the quintessence of Rome all over the world is our mission because we love our city and we put passion in what we do. With our work, we try to contribute to the preservation of these values of history and tradition, our heritage. Let's now move on to one specific facet of our activities. Cinema. Cinema is viewed as a narrative space. In cinema, just like in jewelry, nothing happens by chance. Every detail has a story. It is another form of narrative craftsmanship. And the interaction between the different professionals is very interesting. This gives birth to the narration. So you learn and you teach, and working together with all the professionals working in cinema is a very interesting dialogue that keeps opening doors. We share with the world of cinema the concept of storytelling. Our jewels tell many stories, have a lot of tradition, and this is exactly what cinema does. And we love to work together with other artists working in different fields. It is a dialogue that allows our brand to grow. Sure, and the generational dialogue. Yes, the generational dialogue is paramount. Passing the torch means transmitting not just technical skills and competencies, but meaning. It is an act of cultural responsibility and accountability. What we inherit is a way to give shape to the world. And to preserve this heritage means respecting it, preserving it, and allowing it to evolve and live in the future. Leaving room does not mean giving up, it means trusting. And community can survive only when change is accepted. And continuation is not repetition, it is trust. It is believing that what has been built in the past is still valid, can grow, can change, being truthful to itself. Tradition and heritage can survive only in transformation. And in this period of dematerialization, our task is the opposite, giving weight, structure to memory through shape, through something tangible. Transforming tradition does not mean weakening it, but making it able to talk in the present with a significant voice. This is how we guarantee the continuity in the future of our history, tradition, heritage. New generations are not interrupting their connection with history, they interpret it, they respect it, and rescue it from oblivion. History is not discontinued, it just changes its voice. To conclude, codes. Paola mentioned codes, and codes are very important for us. They're not static reliquaries. Every generation rewrites codes, but does not break them. But a code can evolve only through studying. If it is known in depth, and not only superficially, and this requires respect, sensitivity, and vision. And this is how we try to maintain and further evolve our tradition. As long as the dialogue is ongoing, heritage speaks. One last note, going back to cinema. In an old film, Ben-Hur, there is a famous scene with the chariots race, where white Arabian horses are placed in a specific sequence to obtain the best result. The most experienced horse is the pivot for all the other horses. Then that we have the horse that is quiet, providing coordination. The strong horse pulling the chariot, and externally the fastest one. That's how our team works. I have the experience. My wife has the wisdom, the memory, the coordination. Our son Giuliano is strong as a rock. And our daughter Valeria is speed, change, and future. This is our team, our family, our atelier. Thank you.
E adesso invece...
Right, let's change scene again. And let's start with our fourth chapter. To tell you about a different world, the world of art and jewelry.
It's very special with our fourth chapter, Art and Jewelry. Elisabetta Cipriani is a leading figure in contemporary artist jewelry and is the founder of Elisabetta Cipriani Wearable Art in London. She established her gallery in 2009. She redefined the relationship between jewelry and art by inviting renowned visual artists to translate their artistic language into wearable form. She collaborated with more than 35 international acclaimed artists, guiding each project from concept to final creation. Her projects are represented in major museums and private collections worldwide, including the Musée des Arts Décoratifs in Paris, among other museums in New York. Her gallery regularly participates in leading international fairs such as Design Miami and Salon New York, contributing to global recognition of the artists globally. Signore e signori, Elisabetta Cipriani.
Ladies and gentlemen, Elisabetta Cipriani.
Hello.
Buongiorno, beautiful Elisabetta. We are very happy and proud. We've been following from social to reading around to books, etc. And of course, you know, I have a weak spot for you because you've been contributing to the jewelry world and art for many years.
Yeah.
So please tell us how you started your wonderful journey, because you are a visionary.
Yeah.
And please share it with us.
Well, actually, I've always loved jewelry, traditional jewelry. I don't have a background of jewelry, but since I was very little, I was looking at my mother and my grandmother's jewelry, and especially back in the 80s, you know, when women were dressing up when they were going out, and they were taking out all the jewelry, the necklace, the parure, and I was sitting in the bed playing with this jewelry and hoping that one day they would give these pieces to me. So jewelry was always lived with me, and art too, because my mother was an antique dealer. But then I decided to move into art. I did history of art. I worked for the Museum of Contemporary Art in Rome. I'm Roman. And then I moved to London 21 years ago. And 21 years ago, I discovered the world of artist jewelry, because this is not a new concept. It's something that actually started, as you can see here on the image, before. Yes, it started in Italy, in Rome in the 50s with Mario Masenza and the Fumanti brothers, and then followed in the 60s with Giancarlo Montebello and Teresa Pomodoro. They were collaborating with artists, inviting them to do unique or limited edition jewelry using precious metals. And here you can see Mirko and Afro Basardella, Lucio Fontana, Man Ray, Paul Bury. So they're not unknown figures, international and national artists they were inviting. And then I discovered that Calder was doing jewelry, that Man Ray was doing jewelry, well, that Picasso was doing jewelry. And I said to myself...
And then you moved to London.
Well,
what happened?
There, when I was in London, I discovered this world. And so I said to myself, well, I want to continue this legacy of inviting artists, making, for the first time, a jewel. And so I started to invite the artists that I met at the museum in Rome, inviting them to enter in this world of the wearable art. And so this is how I started. And jewelry, all jewelry is a space of artistic freedom. But with artist jewelry, you can really understand how something intimate can express, can maintain the strength of the artist's language. It is about, it is a form of thinking, it's a gesture, it is also how the presence, how it sits onto the body. And it is about the three-dimensionality, the story behind the piece, the language. It's the extension of the artist's language that is expressed through the movement of the body. Here, for example, you can see I'm wearing the Chiaro necklace, and it is about memory, the language. Then there is Giampaolo Babetto, who's about geometry, architecture, and the pure forms. Giulio Paolini, another artist that I invited to work with, it's about conceptual symbolism. Tatsuo Miyajima was my first artist, a very complicated ring to do, and it's about time. So this is, part of, for me, it was important to break the boundaries between art and design. I wanted really to present to the people something that you could carry, a story that you could carry, something that is meaningful, something that is about the present. Because what artists do? They create the artworks, but they're talking about what's happening today. In this case, we have Ai Weiwei. This piece is called Rebar in Gold. It was done in 2013, and it's about celebration of life. But this bracelet came from a work which is called Straight, from done from 2008 and 2012. It's about a political scar, about people died. 70,000 people died in an earthquake in China. So that's the language that it's a continuation of the artist language. The practice is there, even in the wearable art form. Then we have another example of, for example, of Cunellis.
Yeah.
Also because I guess...
No, I want to also join the conversation, because I am very fascinated how you pick the artist.
Yeah, everybody
because you
that.
are, I love, and we had this conversation yesterday, you love your artists so much that you talk more about them, I told you, than about yourself.
Yes.
But we are fascinated about how do you pick the artists, why them, and what is your really, your vision for them, what kind of movement you are following, what is your approach to art? Yes.
To convince those artists who generally do big work.
It's fascinating how they pick, and then she's also convincing them, because she's courting the artist to join this world. How do you, what is the process?
Well, first of all, it's very simple. I choose the artist because I like his artwork. I don't really, it doesn't come in my mind, oh, well, this can be translated into a smaller version of the monumental sculpture. I don't like that. It comes afterwards, that one. First, I choose the artist, and that is quite straightforward. But then, first of all, to reach the artist is not really, you find them online, the email or the phone number. So that's like you need to go in between routes in order to get to the artist. And then I approach the artist. I invite to do this project. And sometimes I have to wait 3 years. For example, in the case of Ai Weiwei, I went to Ai Weiwei studio in Beijing. He just came out from the prison, because he actually went to prison for that work that I showed before. And I went there, and I introduced myself. I was very scared because all the cameras were on the streets, and he's a humongous figure, and I talked to him, about what I do, and he said, okay, when do we start? He said to me, and I said, well, I'm ready. After 3 years, me going twice to Beijing, writing to the assistants, trying to, and of course, all the assistants were changing constantly. So I had to start from saying, well, I came back then, blah, blah, blah. And so finally, a collector of mine, Chinese, he was in Beijing. I was in the train with my father going from the countryside to Rome. He wrote to me and said, Ai Weiwei wants to see you. So I took the plane, like 48 hours, without the visa, whatever, and he gave me the rebar, that bracelet.
Yes.
And I said, what date shall I put? And he said, 2013. That was when...
You went.
I went. So...
The first time.
The artists...
That's amazing.
The artist wants to also know that you are really committed. And to be part of their work, because I become part of their work, because I present to the world, to everyone, their artwork. I actually, at the end, give it then to a collector, to a museum. So they want to understand how much I'm committed. You are
the Peggy Guggenheim of the
I wish.
That's what I want to say.
No,
you are
no,
the Peggy
not.
Guggenheim.
I'm not, but it's it's about being patient. And
I'm going to go through your amazing, very
I also wanted to say that, you know, I'm Italian, and of course, you know, I started my first projects was with Tetsuo Miyajima and Tom Sachs and Atelier Valley South. They were not Italians, but I wanted really to bring in London, because I'm in London since 21 years. I wanted to, you know, show my identity, you know, and so inviting Italian artists to work with me. I work with international artists, but I wanted to work with Cunellis. I wanted to work with Giuseppe Pennone, with Enrico Castellani, with Giulio Paolini. This was like my goal, my vision. I wanted to have a small group of the best Italian artists. Since, you know, Fontana was already taken.
Yeah, of course,
Unfortunately.
While you're speaking, I'm going through
this is
some of your
Giorgio
artists. You are representing 35 artists.
Yeah.
Approximately.
Yes.
And you said you don't want to have too many because you're taking care of them.
I don't want to have too many artists. There are so many people, artists, very nice, super talented. They approach me, they would like to work with me, and they would like to be represented by me, but really, it's a lot of work, because production, it's very important, you know, like
because you also curate that.
I select the artist.
You connect the master jewels with the jeweler, with the artist, so correct?
Well, I'm in between the artist and the goldsmith.
Yes.
So I make sure that what the artist gives me, which could be a drawing, which could be a maquette, which could be a wax, is then the goldsmith, who I have a fantastic one, is in Rome, Paolo Mangano, of course. We've been working together since 14 years. I make sure with Paolo that we follow the artist's instructions. We do a prototype in silver, and then it's going back and forth with the artist, because the artist needs to agree. You know, he always. It never happens that, okay, perfect, let's go for it. I wish, you know. So it's all this back and forth until the artist approves, because what you are wearing is made by him, not by me or by the goldsmith. There is his name, there is his signature, there is an edition. Some pieces are unique, so it means that you, in all the world, have it and that's it. Or it's an edition of maximum 12 pieces. And they're all signed, they come with a certificate. It's like a work of art.
And that's where the connection comes
so
in.
Basically,
Elisabetta, museums and collectors. That's it.
Yes.
This is what you are really you are very special, but this one is very important as well.
Yeah, it's really great, because when well, now, thank God, it's not anymore perceived as decoration. Now it's really perceived as art. There are many museums who are purchasing artist jewelry for their permanent collection. Recently in Miami, I sold a beautiful Artsmith necklace, but then even the Museum of Decorative Arts purchased Giuseppe Pennone, who was an Italian artist from the Arte Povera movement, and the World Jewelry Museum purchased the Fly by Ilya Emilia Kabakov. It's really, when I was, I did my first museum show back in 2013. I wrote to I was just Googling, and I said, let's see which museum buys artist jewelry. I couldn't see anything, but it popped out that in Seoul, there was the World Jewelry Museum.
Wow.
Fantastic collection of, you know, jewelry of local jewelry, and a little selection of contemporary artists. In any case, I wrote to them, I introduced myself, I started in 2009. It's not that I had a long background. In any case, they loved what I was presenting to the world, and they invited me to bring a selection of artist jewelry in their museum. And we created this dialogue of ancient and contemporary. In fact, it's very important that you mix artist jewelry with what you already have, which could be vintage, which could be design, which could be anything. You need to mix it. But it's important that you wear them because they start to live with the movement of the body. They're beautiful when they are on display in a cabinet in a museum. But look, it's amazing.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
And it's a statement pieces.
And then that's why you're special. You are really a curator and you create a space of meaning. But even when you wear it, your body becomes the platform for displaying art. And I'd like you to speak a little bit of
to bring to life those jewels.
Yeah, it's very important, and I really love it. I have a gallery in London, in Mayfair, and who buys this kind of jewelry are art collectors, but also women who already have the emerald, the ruby, the diamond, that they don't wear it anymore, or they don't wear it as much as before, and they come to me, and they ask me, they are curious, so of course, it's all about it's not only about the bling bling, it's about a story, telling the story. And of course, it's very important that so when someone comes, I already know what would look great on you. And so I style them. I say, try this, try that, not this one. And I spend like 2 hours and a half
styling them.
And they are super happy. And what actually, the best part of my work, apart from working with the artists and the Goldsmith, but also to receive these emails from my clients saying, Elisabetta, you cannot understand how many compliments I am receiving it, and I'm feeling so beautiful when I carry these beautiful pieces.
It's beautiful to bring joy,
so
right?
For me, it's a mission, it's a passion, and I think it's a world that people should really know about and start collecting a few of these. Because in any case, you don't have to be there. The price range is big. It's not that only masterpieces with hundreds of thousands of euros. We can start even with something little, still unique, but in any case, you become different from the others. You get out, you stand out from the crowd. And also remember, they are conversational pieces. You start talking to someone through an object. Because when you wear an artist jewel, it's impossible that people don't come to you and say,
what are you wearing?
What are you wearing?
Yes.
And then their friendship starts, and then their passions connect.
Because it's culture. It's not just
because it's culture, and it's also about today. Because we're talking about what's happening today through art, through wearable art.
Elisabetta, you want to comment your...
Well, I love it. One should either be a work of art or wear a work of art. I don't have to comment on that. It's really, I think it's all linked. It's just, as I said, it's a form of thinking. It's the extension of the artist's language. Also wearable art.
Yes. Grazie, Elisabetta. Thank you. Sei straordinaria. Grazie di cuore. Grazie.
Thank you very much, Elisabetta. You're extraordinary. Thank you very much.
We're going to recap, I hope, this wonderful journey. I mean, my aim, and we were hoping to inspire you. I think we had an amazing, several lectures by people that they are extraordinary. And honestly, I listen to them like you do the same. I get inspired, I get motivated. I think there is poetry and there is inspiration. There are ways and potential, new ways of thinking about our factories. Like, why don't we create, maybe some factories have it, but like, why don't we create an archive? Why don't you create a playground for educational, places or, classes inside your factories or atelier for students or new designers? I mean, there is so much to do, and I loved the conversation, which honestly made me very emotional, of a daughter and a father and the family, how much it's not just, it's really passing the generation, what's happening. It's not just doing like something technically, but really taking it forward. I mean, again, I get so much inspired, because yes, we like innovation, we like new, but I get inspired by, the maestro Diego Percossi Papi, and I get inspired by his daughter. So also Elisabetta, which she had a vision, she loves art, and she takes it to a next level. And this is really what we are here for, to really understand, recoding the industry. And so Stefano, which I'd like him to have him back on stage, actually, because we are closing. Thank you, Stefano. Thank you for inspiring us. Thank you for sharing your story coming from the fashion world. So if we have to recap here, so jewelry, thank you to my co-pilot here, Giampaolo della Croce, is an investment. So we start from really something very objective, because this is a trade show. People is here to buy and sell and learn and write. And so jewelry, it's an investment, but not only a monetary investment. It's about memory. It's about culture. It's about time that we are passing. It's something more than that. But if we started from the business side, and then, of course, I hope that I was able to put together a group, very interesting, heterogeneous group of people that kind of showed you, shared their perspective, their journey, that can inspire our professions. And then, of course, jewelry as and also archive as living. They are not like memories, stagnating places, but those are data. Those are memories to upload and redesign and reimagine, making us superhuman. And then culture as heritage, but again, as data which are silhouettes, concept, memories, storytelling, narrative. And then, of course, jewelry as art, and therefore also as an investment, something bigger. So we would like, if in case you have any questions, you want to ask something to these wonderful speakers, we would like to have like a conversation. If you feel comfortable, we would like that very much. Does anyone has questions? Yes.
Buongiorno a tutti.
Buongiorno.
Faccio la domanda in italiano.
Good morning. I have a question, but in Italian, if you don't mind, to the three speakers who spoke Italian. What is the tip, the suggestion you would give to a young person that would like to do some research in jewelry, in jewels, social media, but also AI? We know they have flattened sort of the authentic nature that you would find, time ago, driving to Paris and going to see little markets. And now everybody, everybody knows these things. They all follow the same source. One example that comes to my mind is the Gucci Play watch. Up until recently, it was forgotten back in the 80s, and now it is back to life with TikTok, etc. So what would you say to youth, addressed in research now? Let me answer, if I may, but even my colleagues can jump in. I have been doing research for over 30 years. I was first a designer, and I got to this level, this metaphysical stage of my career, doing research. As Stefano said, how? By being curious. This is a historical moment where there is, in fact, a flattening. There is a laziness over scrolling down the screen where you believe that you know everything. I teach oftentimes, and I find typically amazing students coming from around the world, international master students who do not know how to do research because they are very much only on the blue screen. Whilst it is out in the street, in the churches, in the libraries. So my suggestion, quite humbly, after 35 years of my career, is to move and shift between the analogical and the digital, and not only digital alone, as Stefano just told us, and also the master and all my colleagues said. You have to touch them, to smell them, to get into the settings, environments. You cannot listen and create unless the world is known about this, be it sartorial. Giampaolo finished off by saying, who is the grand vendor selling not just objects, but also ourselves, and listening, recognizing who is standing before you. And if you don't get out to, become acquainted and find more about the world, you will not make it. So you need something which is analogical, fragrances and smells. That's where the superhuman can be built with the help and support of technology. So in a nutshell, it is living, but truly living. May I add? One comment. So right now, you should guide and drive your research in all of the things that up until yesterday you didn't like. We all, go out to seek and look for what we love. No, try to look back at the things you don't like and try to understand how to bring them over into the world of pleasure, because everybody is looking for the same thing. That's the problem, the issue about research. You go to a little market, and everybody else is doing the same thing. Well, do the opposite. Go out and look for the things that, disgust you or you don't like. Why is it ugly? How could I possibly turn this ugly thing into something more pleasant? That's where new research comes along. Other questions? No. Yes? One? Yes?
Thanks. I'm going to speak English. First of all, thank you so much. Incredible feedbacks, incredible inputs. Thank you so much. My question is, jewelry is not just creativity, but also a business, right? And me as a business person, coming from hospitality, I always find it difficult to find a balance between profitability and creativity. Mm-hmm. In all your businesses, I would like to know how you set up the rules. Okay, for example, we have an idea. We start creating this piece, then we understand, listen, the market is not going to buy it. It's too much for our clients. So how do you set up the barrier between having an income as a business, but also being free in creating what you create? So this line, very fragile line between creativity and profitability. And the second question would be to a lovely family business, because I also come in from a family business and I have a young child, which I hope one day she will love to join my business. But I think it's also tricky, and I'm wondering how to define if my kids are willing to join me because they want it and they love the thing, or they just want to join me, because they don't want to give up on their mom or their father, you know what I mean? So it's also a very fragile line for me to understand if the kids are involved because they want to be involved. So I'm not pushing or forcing them too much. And I think any family business is going through many, many questions inside the families where it's it becomes a bit tricky. Thank you.
Well, I answered the first part, which is going to be very fast, and then we're going to be fast in the second answer. I think that you translating your father, vice versa, The first one, the line between creativity and profitability. Well, ideally, you need them together, ideally, right? I mean, ideally, you want to be creative and profitable, so profitability shouldn't come from pieces that they are not, jewelry they are not creative, because the world is strongly changing, and we are monitoring as an observatory that people is not just buying jewelry, but is buying the community and what the philosophy of a brand. Even if he's an independent designer, even if he's a small company, it doesn't have to be a global brand. If we have to take an example of global brands, for instance, before Giampaolo was made an example, high jewelry for, of course, for Bulgari, but even other brands, they work on the high jewelry / the creative field, the experimentation, to sell emotion and communicate on the highest level. But then they also have, let's say, let's call it ready-to-wear or pieces that they can be worn maybe every day. So there is really a mix and match. What Elisabetta was saying, she's advising, and this is what's happening in the styling of today's collectors, it's mixing high pieces, art pieces, precious or non-precious, with, let's say, more basic pieces. But even the basic today, they are no longer core, simple. They are to the next level. It's like, it's really like a super core. I mean, the core jewelry, the basic jewelry, they are to the highest level. They look like simple, but they are flexible, they are high performances. So the balance, what we call merchandising of collection, is mixing high and low. Being able to let the collector and the buyer to be inspired and express themselves and layer and stack, the art of stacking, it's mix and matching high and low, high-end, low-end, precious and non-precious. So I think that the art of stacking is helping you as a buyer, but it's important the listening to the client and knowing very well who's your target. And then I pass the answer. I hope I was able to help a little bit, but I think the generational passage, I think, is very important.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
when you want to...
So about your first questions, it's not necessary that the jewels has to be so luxury. It depends if you know very well the language you use to make the jewelry, like our cloisonné technique. You can modulate the price of jewelry. For sure, we have some point to respect using stones. For us, color is so important. But we can use high price stone or cheaper stones. And some years ago, my father did a very special collection. He is the master of Baroque, but during the year, he arrives at a much more simple form, shapes. And he did this collection with simple stones on a beach of the Aegean Sea. And so it's not important the preciousness of the material. It's much more the emotion. He took these stones from the beach like a child. Every one of us did this once in our life. It's like find a treasure. It's something related to memory. This is richness. This is the new luxury. It's not the precious stone. It's memories. It's the story. It's our emotion.
Valeria, please answer about the passage. You know, she was talking something very important and is dear to her.
The second question.
Sì, quella che è più importante perché quella è il discorso generazionale.
Sì.
Yeah.
Allora, our father never pushed us to come in the atelier, in the business, in the family business. But we grow up during the year with him. And we grew up listening the story, the mythological stories. We did classical study. It was very natural for us. And then for sure it's a work, a very beautiful work, a work of passion, a work of art, a work of color. I suggest you never push your children to came into your business.
But by set example, maybe, you know what, can I use this word? Enchanting. He enchanted these children. So, li ha incantati. So, when you hear, listen to to the maestro Diego Percossi Papi, when he speaks, even me, I'm enchanted by his stories, by the books that he's recommending. There is so much passion in what he does, then he's inspiring. So his kids, they were just listening to him, and they got trapped into his wonderful passion. And I think this is the best thing that you could do.
Yeah.
Corretto?
He passed us the meaning.
Esatto.
The meaning is the important.
Not the technique, not the trading part, but the inspirational part, and he succeeded. Grazie. I thank you. Grazie. Vieni sul palco. I want to thank everybody here that came. I want to thank the speaker. Grazie. Prego, venite sul palco tutti quanti.
Please join me all on stage. Thank you very much for being here.
You a little bit, and I should see you around the globe with the roadshow. Next one is going to be Paris at Precious Room Muriel Piazir. Then we're going to be in Hong Kong. So thank you for being part of this wonderful community. We are very important for us, and we are inspired by you. Grazie.